I call them checkout Thomases, even though that's James. In Australia, these are very, very common. They're one of the most common toys that comes to my collection.
Well, let's see if that's true.
The next are from a range which was commonly seen in supermarkets around Australia. I call them checkout Thomases because that's where you used to find them for $2. Marked as Ghislaine Thomas 2007, they are distorted in style and size. Most disturbing about this series of models was their clown-like faces, or maybe we could call them mischievous. Underneath, these models had a common wheel sets for movements. And what's interesting, I haven't seen them in the shops for quite some years now. I can guarantee you they all sold out. And here's a few more of those, what I call checkout Thomases, which landed on me. Well, there's a checkout James. Right next to checkout James are two checkout Edwards. And then we've got a party Thomas. And we've got two Thomases covered with mud splats. And there were quite often a number of variables of Thomas in this series. I don't know how many variables, but I dare say we'll find them all in months to come. There's a great number of what I call checkout Thomases, and they go back to the year 2007. And as I've said before, these little guys were lined up at the checkouts at supermarkets, and they were like an impulse buy for $2 each. And I'm pretty sure that I went through and bought a few in the time, and it looks like plenty of other people did as well. I don't remember seeing too many Emilys in what I saw. And also Spencer, I can't recall seeing too many of him. Quite like Spencer's face in these. And often there were different themed versions of the same character. So there's a plain old James there, and then we have a James with bees all over him. And here's a complete look of my collection of the checkout styled type Thomases. Well, it certainly makes for a very impressive lineup. And the different Thomases that I've got is a plain Thomas there, and there's a paint splattered Thomas, a party Thomas, and a mud splattered Thomas. Well, considering I come across these very easily, and I've got lots of duplicates, and I'm sure I'm going to get loads more, I'm going to give away this Thomas, Percy, Edward, James, Gordon, Henry, Spencer, Emily, the bus, I've got his name, Harold, and Mavis. To have a go at this giveaway, all I need you to do is lay in a comment and tell me how many Thomases will I have left after I give this one away. How many Thomases will I have left in this series after I give the one in that line at the front away? So your comment will read a number, Thomas the Tanks left. Well, it would not be one of my collection videos without a whole swag full of what I call checkout Thomases. And you might say, why do you call them checkout Thomases? Well, I'll tell the story over again. Back around 2007, in Australia, these little guys were all through the checkouts with a big thing saying, buy me, buy me. They were only $2 each. They were cheap and cheerful, and they were very, very popular. And what I do notice is that coming from the charity shop who collects this stuff for me, I think this would be one of the most frequent Thomas items that come through, and I'm sort of not surprised, and I've been able to give some of this stuff away in the past, and I will build up another bunch of it to give away in the future. And I think in this series that I've got this time, there's one here that I have not got, and let's take a look at it. Well, it's that Thomas there. I don't think I've got the one covered in vines and stuff. Is that from Hero of the Rails? Or is it Misty Island, or are the years a bit crossover? Remember, these were around 2007. Got cockies outside now. Well, here's a mixed assortment of Thomas goodies. I think one of these came from a garage sale, or a fete. The others, I think, I'm pretty sure came from the charity shop where most of my Thomases come from. And the two up the front there are the ones that you saw all the time in Australia a couple of years back, around 2007. I call them checkout Thomases. Both the checkout Thomases are marked 2007 underneath. What was really nice about these was they came in different themes. This one's a bit of a party theme, and that's how much I paid for it. There's a dollar stamp on the back, and I think it's worthwhile. It's going to my collection. And remember, each Thomas you see, that collection gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, the next one is no surprise to me. It's a whole bunch of checkout Thomases. And interestingly, here's the Fat Control from that series. I think that's the first one I've got. I didn't see many Fat Controls when they were in the box, but they used to hang out at the checkouts back in 2007, which is their licensing info underneath, and they were $2. You basically couldn't leave the shops without buying one. But, you know, some people love these things. These don't look like they've had much play. There's a Snowy Thomas there. I don't think I've got a Snowy one. Although I've got that many Thomases now, I really can't tell. There's a normal Thomas. Those eyes are starting to freak me out. Go back and look at Snowy Thomas's eyes. I should have made mention of that. Here comes Emily, looking a bit spooky. Here comes Percy. Those eyes are killing me. Coming around back to Edward. And the Fat Controller. Well, here's a better look at the snow-covered Thomas. Look at those eyes. They're looking that way. It was interesting. The characters came in different themes. There were lots of different Thomases in the series. And they were very popular. I remember the boxes emptying out real fast. It's a shame that they come back. And that's the strange wheels they had underneath. The wheels on the side here did nothing, but they had little rollers underneath. The other unusual part about this series was there was no way to couple the trains, but I'm sure children could work it out with a bit of sticky tape or a piece of blue tack because they know how children work. And there's a good look at the Fat Controller, because I know you'll ask me, oh, can we have a better look? It reminds me of the Ertl Fat Controller. Some of them had base plates on them, some didn't. But it's quite nice. It's a shame it doesn't have like a little painted mouth. But that's what it looks like, and its details are on the back there. There it is, 2007 Ghislaine Thomas, and there's a web address there connected to the people who did these. These are the Thomases that I like for my collection. This is the 2007, what I call Checkout Thomas, and it's that snow theme. I don't think I've got one of those. And in Australia, if you came across these are little checkout guys. I call them Checkout Thomases, even though that's James. In Australia, these are very, very common. They're one of the most common toys that comes to my collection, although people in the UK might say the exact opposite to what I've just said. And let's move on to these very, very common toys in Australia. Very quick look at these. Back in 2007, if you went to shops, be it Coles, whatever, you had these Thomas toys in boxes. I called them Checkout Thomases because they assaulted you at the checkout. They were $2 each. It's one of the most common toys that come via me in this collecting mode that I've got. They're strange because they're all different sort of scales, and some of them look fairly awkward. I think most would agree this Edward here looks very awkward. Then you've got this giant Spencer here. The one I don't think I've actually shown is Cranky. There is a Cranky getting about. I think it's part of the haul from last year, and we'll get to it in one of these episodes. And there is Emily. But we've seen enough of that. I would like to move on to... Well, I think I spoke, was it in this video a bit earlier on? I was saying, wow, you don't see many of the Checkout Thomas Crankies. Well, that's one of them. I've got a funny feeling that may be the first one that's come my way. It'll say 2007 underneath there. And that is, I think, this one here is a Checkout Fat Controller. And it's very similar to, and strange enough, there is an example of one here. There is an Ertl Fat Controller there. And one person made a comment on episode 12 and I said, hey Leo, why don't you get to check out Cranky and put it on the miniature Ertl set that I sneak peeked on episode 12. And you know what? This is a beautiful idea. I think Check Out Cranky is a great scale to work on that miniature Ertl set. The next is, I've got some Checkout Clarabelles. Two of. These were very, very common in Australia. I know overseas, some people said we rarely ever saw these, or they feel they're rare. Back in 2007, man, every shop you went to, these things were jumping at you. Rah, buy me, buy me, buy me. Next up, we have a double act. It looks like Batman and Robin, doesn't it? Although that James looks like the Joker by the look of his face. These are called Checkout Thomases, or that's what I called them in Australia. They were at the checkouts at all the little shops you went to, mainly Coles, I remember them being at. Like a whole box of them. Now thinking back, I wish I bought a couple of boxes. I could have made $1 million. They were 2007 licensed Ghislaine blah blah toys. Little wheels on the bottom of them. They were a lot of fun. And there were bunches of different variations of them. All sorts of variations. The one I'm curious about is Thomas the Tank, of course. That is just a normal stock standard Thomas. Yeah, it's nice. It's, it was only a little $2 toy. Hey, bring it on, bring it on. Bring it back, please. And there's James there, in his beautiful refinement with a kooky looking face which is going to make you laugh. But nevertheless, this is one of the most common Thomas and Friends toys that I see coming through from the charity shop, and I certainly understand why. Plus these guys here. Okay, I think it was a surprise toy one, wasn't it? I think the surprise toy one had the best detailing. I think they were Checkout Thomases, or Checkout Harold, said the wrong thing there. Okay, first of all, I'm going to take a look at is a Checkout Emily, as I call them. These toys were all through Australia in 2007. When you went to Coles or maybe another supermarket, they were sitting there at the checkouts wanting to jump into your trolley. There's the licensing info there. 2007, you can see it. They had strange little sets of wheels inside there. The ones on the outside were sort of like dummy wheels. They were everywhere and they lasted for some time. They were sort of strangely detailed in some areas and not detailed in others. And Emily was quite a large engine. If I bring in a Thomas here from my collection, you can sort of see that for some reason Emily was modelled quite large. I don't know whether that's right or wrong. I know the audience may have a lot to say about that. But nevertheless, yeah, very, very popular toy that was around. It's quite some years ago now. It's strange how time goes by. Next one we're going to take... check out Thomas's. They would be 2007 era. In Australia, these things used to assault you at the checkouts. Mind you, there's Percy and 2 Edwards there. We're taking a look at those toys many times in these collection videos, but those checkout Thomas toys have been like a constant, what would you call them, like chatter in the background of these collection videos, haven't they? How many times have these come through? Look at Percy's face here. That toy looks possessed. It looks like a Chucky Percy. So, I mean, that was sort of what was a little bit strange about those toys. You sort of got the misfit ones like that. I mean, to me, that's a great Percy collectible with a Chucky face. I don't really need to say much more about those, but I think with the joy of this Bullstroke, I've got them sorted out. I put batteries in where they should be, and we'll take a look at the Checkout Thomas first. This here is the all-famous Checkout Thomas. In Australia, you could buy them at the checkouts for $2 back in the mid-2000s. This is 2007, marked underneath. They had fake little wheels there because the wheels on the side were just details. Very, very, very common toy that comes through. There were different themed version Thomases as well. Quite unusual looking. They were extremely popular, but nevertheless, it's a Checkout Thomas. And back then, these small and expensive toys were even given buffer detailing. That's something you rarely ever see today.
So as you can tell, these are quite common.
And as you know, Leo has a massive collection of the Thomas character and only Thomas. He doesn't collect any of the other engines. And he's also given one away. So how many does he have?
And after counting all of them minus that one, he has
25
Thomases. So as you can see, very common.
As an Australian, I can confirm these are so common. As you can see, I have some too. I have a paint splattered Thomas, a Percy, a James. I gave the Buzz one to a friend. I used to have that one too. An Emily, a Thompson truck, and a Annie. So yeah, as you can see, very, very, very common in Australia. And I'm actually starting to work at a charity shop now, so I'll find way more of these in months to come.